go ahead and deepen your breath. Breathe into your back body. Feel your back ribs, your spine, the back of the skull, the back of the sit bones. And slowly open your eyes. And welcome. We're also ready to begin. At the same time. Great. How many of you guys had off today? Off from work? A few people. Yes, myself too. So I feel like normally I'm in workaday mode, and I'm in weekend mode now. So it's kind of fun. Cool. Thank you so much for coming out on a Monday. Really appreciate it. Today we're going to do just a little bit of class setup. There are a few things that I forgot to mention, believe it or not, in the intro class, so I'll go ahead and cover off on those. We'll do a super quick general scope review. And then we'll talk about stage 1 and stage 2 practice and kind of get into the details there. We'll have a kind of a Q&A. We'll do a sit together, and then we'll have another Q&A about the sit. Yeah, I guess before we begin though, is there anything, does anybody have any suggestions to that agenda or any questions that have come up in the past week? Anything like that? Crickets, cool, okay. So yeah, let's go over, anytime I teach or do anything of this nature, lead a workshop, try to win an argument or persuade someone of something, you always think of things after the fact. Just kidding. Yeah. So last we were together, we talked about shamatha and vipassana, calm abiding, which is getting the mind to a state where attention stops moving spontaneously, just all over the place, and instead moves and is directed intentionally, right, through conscious intention. So our focus is kind of sitting and staying like a well-trained dog. And that's a really beautiful thing. So we're working toward stability of attention mixed with powerful awareness, right? A brightness in the mind, a sharpness, a clarity, and a vividness, not just in the mind, but in that which the mind perceives. So it's like our resolution gets bumped up. So we have shamatha that we're cultivating in this practice, and as well as vipassana, which is insight, right? And we talked a little bit about insight in last class, but that's basically using this amazing tool that you've cultivated, your own mind, to explore those big questions like, who am I? What am I perceiving? How does my mind work? What's going on with this big wild world? And you get to investigate that with a very sharp and high resolution apparatus like your mind. So just talked about that. We talked about all these wonderful things. We didn't talk about, we did not get into your motivation or benefits that much. And I just wanted to give everybody a chance to maybe like introduce yourself. Whoa, introduce yourself just really briefly if you're so inclined. I would love to learn your names a little bit more and have an opportunity for you guys to learn who each other is. And talk a little bit about kind of why you're here and what your practice means to you. And if that's like way too personal, you can just say your name and say some sort of pleasantry like you're happy to be here, or not. You can tell the truth too. But yeah. So I'll start. Hi, everybody. I'm Eve. And for me, my personal motivations around meditation are really, they kind of span the gamut. From at its most basic level, meditation gives me a sense of routine and regularity, and I acknowledge that as a part of my animal, that I like the certainty of waking up and having a ritual, and that's very grounding and supportive for me. It also allows me to, really helps me, gives me the tools that I need, the actual skills that I need to do all the things that I already know are good and right in the world, right? So I can know all day long that I should be patient with my 10-year-old niece when she's having a hissy fit, right? But knowing intellectually is very different than having the skills to be able to deal with that and manage that in the moment, right? Or pick any other kind of challenging situation. So it's really like skills to be the kind of person that I want to be, and to be able to have the skills to choose that in each moment, as well as gaining insight and clarity, being in a really high positive state so that I can see and act very clearly, and really grow spiritually. And I'll let that be completely open-ended. But yeah, that's why I love it. I also love it because I'm super curious, and I find the whole process, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, just endlessly fascinating. Like how it works, why we're here, what the hell's going on. It's a really fun ride to get to investigate at a personal level, like what's going on. So that's me. If anyone else wants to share their name, that would be really lovely.
My name's Jeff. I studied meditation with Michael Roach for many years in Arizona. I felt like I plateaued, and then I got very sick, and feel like I'm just starting again in a way, and that's it.
Great, thank you, Jeff.
I'm Jeff also.
Hi, Jeff.
Jeff's in this room. Are you Jeff?
Any other Jeffs? No? Okay.
All three in New York.
Right.
And I'm kind of just starting out with meditation, but I've always felt kind of dictated by my mind and by my emotions. So I guess I've realized that there could be a different way where, I could have some insight into, what's going on, and maybe even some, not control over it, but cooperation maybe. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking for.
Great. Well, do everything to help you find that to the greatest of my ability. That's wonderful.
So my name is Alessandro.
Hi.
We've
met.
Yes, yeah, we met. So I've seen I was at the Kuladasa talk, like what was a few months ago.
At Insight Meditation
Yes,
Center.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I missed the first lesson. So if you do a summary, that's very useful.
Okay.
And I've been practicing meditation for a few years, and it had a huge impact on my life already. After the first few months, you already had a big impact. So, and I've been practicing the Theravada tradition, which is a very specific kind that I'm sure you know. So, but I found Kuladasa book very interesting because it seems like it has some ingredients that were missing in what I was practicing before. So I'm very much eager to learn.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Jeff, Alessandro.
I'm Paul. I've been meditating for a little while, but still very much feel like a beginner. I took this class last time you offered it, and I found that I really responded to Chuladasa's book, and I've gone to a few of his talks, and I guess I've been drawn to meditation for peace of mind, and also I have this notion that it will help me with my creative side.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Great, thanks, Paul.
Cool. I'm Liz. I've been curious about meditation since I was very little. My entire father's side of the family, very spiritual family, meditating daily. So something I've always been curious about, and I would try it, stop. And over the last few years, especially after moving to New York, definitely need that peace of mind and grounding, and definitely exploring my spiritual side a lot more. I go to your sister as well. So especially in the world where everything is nonstop, and it's phones and laptops and work and running from place to place. I need this as part of my daily routine. So trying to really stick to it this time.
Great. We're going to talk about establishing a practice today and all that it entails. So hopefully you'll get some good tools and good support there. But thanks. Okay.
I'm Matthew. I became interested in meditation in my teens, which is quite a long time ago. But I didn't really have any opportunity to learn from a teacher at that point. And I've been to a few retreats in the time since, but then kind of slipped out of practice. I got back into practice a few years ago as a result of a personal crisis and dealing with the emotions around that. Found it very helpful. And then I picked up Julie Dassa's book sometime last year, and I've been working with that for the last few months and finding it a very focused way of investigating what's going on.
Thank you. Great to have you, Matthew.
I'm Hannibal, and I've been meditating for quite some time, but off and on. It hasn't been always consistent. First experience was actually the Vipassana meditations with Goenkaji. And then have done several of those retreats, came to this center, did, follow this path. But I need to basically establish more of a routine. And my main reason would be, I just believe, I've always felt from a young age that mastery over the mind is like real freedom. So that's really probably my biggest motivation is just freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one word. Yeah. Thanks. Alejandra?
Hi, my name is Alejandra, and I'm a beginner at meditating. I was interested in it because I find I've heard awesome things of when one meditates and how it helps you stay grounded, and also what the mind is capable of and how you feel afterwards.
Excellent and concise.
My name is Adriana. I'm also new to meditating. It's something that I've been interested in for a couple of years, but I've never actually been able to set up the practice. So I'm very excited to begin my journey here.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Becky, and I've been meditating a long time, and I recently was in a weekend class with Julie Dassa and learned this technique, and I'm drawn to it because it was really my first introduction to peripheral awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was feeling like I was getting an inkling to it from some of the sutras, to be aware of what arises before it arises. But this concretizes it. And while my motivation might change depending on life circumstances, it's been pretty consistent for a while that a lot of the conditions in my life have gotten better, but sometimes the suffering is still there as if it hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something in the mind that needs to catch up.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead. Do you want to go? Sure, I'll go. You already know my name. This is Meetup for Jeps. I discovered 3 Joules about 5 years ago, actually, when I was dealing with the major health crisis. And the 8 a.m. meditations here, and even a lot of people were a big part of my healing process. I don't think I ever really developed a practice, but I went from thinking I knew everything to needing to know everything to realizing I knew nothing in life. And I think being able to sit with the unknown is what meditation is about for me, and staying very present.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jim. I'm dealing with quite a few personal issues, and what I'd like to accomplish is to reframe them as a great way of maintaining clarity and a higher degree of conscious awareness and energy.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
My name is not Jeff. It's Richard. And I'm here because Hannibal suggested this would be fantastic. And I said, okay. I am here at ACI and I'm a student. I'm also trying to get through some emotional things. A few people have said they are. I am. With my daughter, and I'm very heartbroken by something. So I'm finding that I'm coming down many stages of this, the levels of shamatha. And I'm trying to get my feet back into the practice. And I'd also love to get enlightened in as short as 9 lifetimes, if at all possible. So I'd like to study towards, well, this one would be good.
That's fun.
I would really like to go as far as I could in this lifetime in the shamatha tradition.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Wow, what a breadth of people and circumstance. Everybody's so wildly unique, and yet we are so similar at the same time. We heard things like, I'm looking for freedom. I'm looking to be able to cooperate and collaborate with my mind as opposed to being ruled by it, which is a lovely way of putting it. We'll talk about kind of partnering with your mind empathically today. We heard that there's lots of cool things that people talk about that you can do with your mind. I wonder what those are, like curiosity, investigation, busting out of a plateau, healing. Like there's a lot of healing that meditation isn't designed to help us heal trauma, but it is a side effect of continual practice. So it's incredibly powerful. I am just so excited to be in the room with you guys, and really excited about the journey that we're going to take together. One way that I think about motivation and kind of the benefits of meditation are that if we think about it in a certain way, meditation can be one of those activities that fulfills almost all of our needs in a way, not for food, air, or water or anything magical like that, but our needs for certainty. Like if we think about needing to have a certain sense of certainty in our lives, like at a base level, kind of the foundation of Maslow's pyramid is all about certainty around food, shelter, other things, but a general feeling or need of certainty is kind of grounding for us humans. And we all have a certain need for an amount of certainty. And then we also have a need for what would be funny if it came next, uncertainty, right? Just as much as we crave certainty, we crave uncertainty. How many people know this about themselves in their life, right? Oh, I really, I need more routine. I need more this, like, I'm freelancing. It's so crazy. I don't know when my next check is going to come in. I really need certainty. Oh, I'm at a full-time job. This is so like, I need a little bit more adventure, right? How many times we're constantly kind of navigating between those needs and how much is just right. Okay. But meditation provides like a really positive, healthy way of getting our needs met for certainty, but as well as uncertainty, because we have no idea what's going to happen when we sit down, right? And we're investigating the unknown wilds of our mind. So this is a wonderful, very healthy way to get our need for uncertainty filled as well. We also have a need for significance, right? To feel unique and to feel like who we are and like what we're doing matters. And as we investigate and explore the nature of our mind and our experience, by giving ourselves reflection and attention, it's a way of saying, I'm worth that, or this whole experience is worth that, right? And so there is a kind of significance at a personal level, psychological level, that's met through meditation. Love and connection. It's also, even though it's a solitary act, you get to be in a group, which is really lovely, but it also helps us to be better lovers and connectors with ourselves and with our loved ones and all of existence and all of our life, which we'll explore a little bit more as we delve deeper into the practice. Growth, you can also get through meditation because you absolutely watch yourself grow. And that's one of the most phenomenal things in the world. I mean, when you're an adult, right, we're all adulties type people. When you're an adult, how often do you get to watch yourself do something completely new? Like, are you doing something new every day? Are you surprising yourself every day? Like, for so many of us, growth becomes something that is once in a while, as opposed to when we were kids, we were growing every day. We're getting taller. We were going to a different school. We were learning how to ride bikes. We were surprising ourselves and we're facing this really steep growing curve with our whole lives all the time. And you get to be an adult, and after you kind of get a certain established rapport with your career or whatever else, all too often in our heads, the story is we stop growing, or like there's nothing else to kind of do. This is a really healthy way to engage in an activity that will allow you to grow and to continue to surprise yourself, right? Which is really exciting. And allows us to also contribute, right? Because our greatest gift is who we become through this whole process, and we can contribute on such a high level through that and at every step of the way. So it's if you think about it, you could really have a positive, healthy addiction to meditation. That's loaded, but meditation will also help enhance concentration and creativity. Like Paul was talking about creativity, and how might meditation increase creativity? Do we have any ideas about that? I mean, we could do like a whole class on that alone, but I'm kind of curious.
How would it have an impact on creativity?
Yeah.
I think through peripheral awareness.
Yeah, totally. Talk more about that.
Well, it really is closer to your impulses. It's closer to your creativity.
Yeah.
When you have these things come up, you're not grinding at it, looking for it. It's just there.
Yeah.
And then you have the opportunity to observe what's coming up and then utilize it.
That's right. So peripheral awareness, we talked about in last class, is, I'll give a review. Okay. Not everybody's here. Peripheral awareness is it's that space. It's everything in your consciousness that's not attention. So it's an awareness of what is. From your field, objects arise in your consciousness into your field of awareness first, and then attention will move to specific things in your conscious experience, in your awareness. Attention will move like a spotlight, right? And generally it'll move spontaneously. But what arises into our awareness, we have no conscious control over, right? That's coming from the unconscious mind, right? And whatever is arising. And so the more that we can exercise peripheral awareness, the more in touch we'll be with that mode of allowing, right? Which is what peripheral awareness, you can't like not allow it. It's going to do it whether you like it or not. But the more you allow, the more you'll be able to kind of encourage that feed. So peripheral awareness is absolutely connected to the principle of allowing and the mode of being that's allowing. And this practice helps to bring that into balance, because all too often we're running around with attention being the predominant mode of our consciousness, right? Like when we kind of came out of meditation, I asked you to bring your attention to your back body, right? You think about the back body being associated with peripheral awareness and reception in a way. We do all our actions here in the front, moving forward, right? But breathing into the back body is a little bit more connected with parasympathetic nervous system, a little bit more connected with receiving, and just a different way of being in our body that can be helpful. Great. We also talked about emotional stability being a benefit of meditation. It helps to lower blood pressure, it helps with sleep disorders, it can help with chronic pain, PTSD, anxiety, depression. It can help with all of these things. Although it's not designed specifically for that, it can absolutely help with that. So if there's intense emotional stuff happening, I absolutely believe that we need to seek complementary support systems and help for those kinds of whatever's going on emotionally. This practice, a lot of this practice is about observing what is and what arises. And joy, you will cultivate joy through the process. You'll watch your own negativity bias, right? How your mind is trained to go to that which is negative as opposed to that which is right in front of you as well, which is also positive, right? So we'll start to notice those habits and decide what's going to be the most useful in that moment, probably not focusing on what's negative unless you need to deal with it, right? But then you can focus on it in a way that's non-judgmental and not getting caught up in the emotion of what that represents to you in your mind. Let's see. Yeah, I talked about insights into your personality, past conditioning, being able to see your patterns that are counterproductive so that you can choose new routes and new patterns. That's so powerful. You can transform who you are and how you function through your habits. You can also go deeper and transform how your brain is wired, how your mind perceives through insight. So all of that is incredibly powerful. And let's talk a little bit about having the right attitude for practice, because the right attitude is everything, like everything. How many people here have tried to meditate and tried to force themselves through strength of will, through strength of desire, like a fervent kind of, yes, right? Okay. Who hasn't done that? Has anyone just been like, I'm totally cool?
I have done it.
Okay. You have done it, right? Me too. So the first thing to remember is that the right attitude is everything. And meditation, this is going to sound really controversial, but it's not. But meditation is a hedonic practice. It is a practice of enjoyment, right? It is a practice of setting yourself up, at least in the beginning, and actually quite through till the end. It's a practice of noticing that which is pleasant to positively train and reinforce certain mental functions and habits, and that's what meditation is. It's like positive reinforcement, and like I talked about training a dog. Did I talk about dog training in the last class? I love dogs, so I'll talk about that a lot. It's just like that. It's just like taking like a wild feral little puppy and training her with positive reinforcement and good treats, and what you get out of it is like an amazing kind of cooperation between you and this amazing animal, which is you and yourself and your mind. So the right attitude, it's about practicing diligently but without force, right? What does that mean? You'll find out. Like you will find out and you'll think you know, and then you'll find out again. But what does it mean to be committed to an intention? Like I have an intention to do something, but it's not forceful, but I have an intention. But anything could happen and I would be okay with that, right? We'll start to balance and kind of play with these things. It's this idea like if I'm learning to throw darts and I'm not a very good dart, I wish I was, but I'm not. Like if I ever go to a bar and I try to throw darts, it's really hit or miss. But you'll be trying to throw, and every time I'm intending to hit the bullseye, but that isn't always what happens, right? Just the same in meditation. I'm going to sit down and intend to watch the breath with the nose. I'm going to have an intention, but it's not always going to go down the way I planned, right? And so we have to be completely committed to that intention and refreshing that again and again. I'm going for the bullseye. I keep going for the bullseye. It's not going to happen. It's totally okay. It's a part of the process. That's not going to stop me or hinder me or frustrate me in any way from consistently refreshing that intention that I have, whatever the bullseye might be at the time, right? So we're also going to look, see how to work toward goals without having expectations, right? Meditation is a little bit like playing scales. You'll dance a little bit up here, right? Something might happen in your life. You go a little bit down, and then you'll kind of slide back up. You go into retreat, and then maybe you come back out and the city's crazy, but then you kind of keep progressing. And in general, the amount of time you spend and the quality of time you spend, if you are consistent and you stay with that truly and honestly, you'll slide right along and you will progress, right? Because you're dealing with training just like anything else. Now, for those of you who have practiced for quite a long time, if we have the right tools and techniques, in general, like I know I can speak for myself, whenever my practice has kind of slid off, it's because I haven't prioritized it. It's because I've gotten distracted. It's because other things in my life have seemed more seasonally important, right? Or whatever else. If I'm practicing diligently, right, with good quality time that's consistent, slide right along, right? Like the world's your oyster. Go. It's great. So we'll talk a little bit about how to prioritize and keep a practice and start a practice, like here in our crazy lives with phones and technology and everything going super fast. Yeah. So the right attitude is one of open, engaged curiosity, right? Where we continually refresh our intention and we're not judging. Whatever happens, you're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, why? Cool, got it. Let's try again. Okay, and staying really positive. We're going to hold those intentions until they become habits, and then they're going to be effortless, right? And awesome. And then when that happens, like the real Space Cadet Explorer comes in, and then things get really fun, really, really fun. Cool. So let's talk about some obstacles to establishing a practice, right? Our stage one is establishing a practice. What gets in the way, right? And if we're not honest at this point, like nothing's going to work. Like honesty is mandatory. Period. It's not. If you're not honest with yourself, you will very quickly. Yourself will show you that you need to be honest. You can't hide from yourself. So what are some of the obstacles that come up to having a regular, consistent practice? Anybody?
Laziness.
Laziness, yeah, laziness. Historically, they have a whole category of this hindrance called laziness and lethargy, right? Laziness, what does laziness feel like? Like, what's the self-talk around laziness?
Oh, you get up in the morning, you wake up and you think, I really should meditate. You think, but geez, 20 more minutes of, lying, doing nothing in bed, or maybe I'll check to see if I've got any text from somebody I'm really hoping to get a text from. Maybe I'll have a longer shower, that kind of thing.
Yep. There is a little bit of, I've got better things to do, right? Yeah. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about why, from a biological perspective, that impulse comes from a really good place. But we our lives have kind of progressed past our wiring, right? But laziness, great. Why else? Why else is it hard? Yeah, Alessandro.
I don't want to seem very negative, but I think there is pain, a lot of pain inside. So it's more about what you run from than what you run to.
Yeah.
It's true that you run towards the image, but the reason is that whenever I see it, if I come down and if my attention deepens, there is a lot of things which I don't like inside.
Yeah.
That's the root of the reason why I think work. For me, sometimes it's difficult because I don't have the energy, I don't have the right intention to face that, rather than being, going to something which makes me numb with respect to that.
Yeah, real.
I don't know if this is just me.
No, this is so good. Like, who else knows what he's talking about?
3 out of 3 Jeffs agree.
Yeah, I think so. No, absolutely. And if we're not in the right frame of mind, you get in there and you're like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah, we'll talk about purification a lot. Purification, like a healing that happens when that kind of stuff comes up. And we'll see our own negativity bias, our own tendency toward depression or anxiety or whatever else is there. Why else is it hard to have a steady practice?
I was going to say, just living in the city, and my apartment is right on a very busy avenue that is nonstop traffic, nonstop honking, and people screaming. And I don't have a place of refuge. I'm like, do I hide in my bathroom in the bathtub? Where's the moment of silence? So I've, started meditation again, but having to do it in this place just full of distractions. And
Yeah.
like, so is this just an obstacle that this is great, this is a good challenge, I overcome this right away, or I don't know how to get past that.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go.
I would say both and I think it's great, and I think that meditating in silence can give you something else that's nice to have as well. So we'll talk about logistics, like places to go, as well as how to do it at home, because that actually is a really big blessing, being in the city, because you get to watch something, you get to watch your mind push things away, and you get to see the pain, the added pain that resistance gives, and then you can let it go a lot quicker. So it's really nice, actually. It's also helpful for peripheral awareness in the beginning. It'll keep it alive. It's good. That's good. Why else is it hard to start a practice? We heard noisy apartments. We heard like stuff gets crazy in my mind when I close my eyes and sit. It gets real. I don't know if I'm ready for real at this moment. We heard that I'm late. I want to sleep. Who doesn't want to sleep more? Anything else?
Similar to lazy, I just didn't feel I was getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just.
That's doubt.
Doubt.
That is
Okay.
doubt.
Well, do you think so? I mean, because I didn't think I was getting anywhere, and not. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I would call it that, because, like, there was zero result. I wasn't getting any results.
So you did the experiment, and you're like
yeah, on a scientific level, like no, because the doctor would. Is he a doctor?
Yes.
He talks a lot about it scientifically, and so. In terms of cause and effect, in terms of data and results, so for me, I wasn't getting any results. So I thought there's nothing, I'm not getting it.
right. So why
call
would
that
you?
Doubt?
I would call that doubt for that specific experiment or whatever style you were doing.
Doubt in the process, perhaps.
Well, there's doubt, but then we'll talk about why. We'll talk about laziness and doubt and where they come from biologically, and it would be crazy to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again and dedicate a lot of time and effort and resources if you weren't seeing any kind of progress. That would be absolutely insane. And I would say, if you let the experiment run its course, maybe you need to try a different experiment or whatever, but you probably shouldn't be doing that with your life. That probably wouldn't be a good thing to do. So I wouldn't call it any of those. I would just say like that's a step back, and then I would have doubt going into a new experiment and saying, is this substantively different than the experiment I already ran and spent however many number of time and years for? Like how is this different? So I would say like doubt and healthy skepticism. That's what I would say. Yeah, absolutely. Any other reason? This is like so helpful. We have to talk about, if we don't talk about this and you're like, oh yeah, I'm a good boy, good girl, I love meditating, this is great. And then you go home and you don't do it, like you're a total liar and you're not helping any of us, because we are all basically the same. We have the same basic, we're gonna talk about these 5 hindrances and kind of where they come from and why we have them, and it's good. This is really good. Anybody else? Yes.
So I know that my best time of day to meditate is pretty early in the day.
Yep.
Not first thing in the morning, but pretty early. And if I meditate at night, it's iffy.
Yep.
I can still do it, but I may or may not be dealing with extreme dullness that I wouldn't have to deal with earlier in the day.
Yeah.
However, once the weather gets nice, it like hurts to be indoors. I just feel so pulled to the outdoors.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the trees, you could hear them going.
Yeah. No, I can. Yeah. We can work with that, Becky. We can work with that. I understand that pull for sure. So, there are more beautiful things in the world that I want to go play in the forest. Like, I don't want to, whatever you want to do. Yeah. There are other things that will give me more immediate gratification. Jeff?
I think just discipline when your life is very dynamic and you have sort of scheduling chaos in general, where your life is different every day. And
Yep.
a lot of us I know in this room probably function that way, so it's hard to establish routine when everything else is not necessarily as structured.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Not just finding the time, but planning well ahead to plan for that time, right? Okay. Yeah.
Just going back to doubt, like we live in a world where, a lot of things, most of our things are physical. Like we go and put gas in the car and we know that that's going to bring something. We go and give somebody money and we get something for it. And then with meditation, you're not getting something right away. Most often, it takes some time to develop something, especially if you're not very sensitive. So I think it's that having the faith to put in the time to eventually see some results come at some point.
Yeah. We got to do
the patience.
Absolutely.
And the doubt, yeah.
Right? We have to do the experiment, right?
Yeah.
If you say, okay, I'm going to do this experiment and I'm going to see if mold grows on banana, like, like when you're a kid, you're like, I'm going to put, I can't believe my mom, it's so gross thinking about my mom putting a banana inside a paper bag and like tacking it up on the bulletin board in the house, like open air, nice and warm, dark. Of course, mold grows, like whatever. But if you did that experiment and you only waited 5 minutes, you'd be like, this is stupid. This doesn't work. Done. Right? So we do have to have time for that. And and this gets me back to expectations. If we have very specific and very certain expectations of what is supposed to happen when we do this, very specific and very certain. I'm supposed to feel like this. I'm supposed to, it's going to get me, I'm going to feel like I'm floating on a cloud and like there's light or whatever. That very well may happen, but if it's very certain, very specific, you're going to miss all these amazing things that are happening all along the way if you're waiting for something very specific. So I would say, yes, the experiment takes time, and it's good in the beginning, it's good in the middle, and it's good in the end, right? Like that's like the Buddha talked a lot about that. Like the beginning is awesome for these kinds of reasons. The middle is awesome for all different other kinds of reasons, and the end is also amazing. So the process should reflect that, right? Yeah.
Can I ask a really loaded rookie question?
Yeah.
I feel like we keep talking about things that involve belief and things that involve biology.
Yeah.
What is the balance in this practice in terms of like opening yourself up to understanding where you're trying to go?
Totally. So here's the thing. Belief. You don't necessarily need it. Like you just need to have enough belief to get you in this room, or not even belief, enough suspicion to get you into this room to say, or into your practice and say, maybe because I've seen evidence that a lot of people are getting benefit out of this, maybe because, I don't know, there are people and I like the way that they think and they seem to have gotten benefit from it and I kind of generally trust them more or less, but I'm still not bought in, right? You don't need to believe in anything that you can't see, feel, or touch, or do anything. Like the Buddha said, comes to you for yourself, right? That's complete, absolutely. So how much belief does it take? Just enough suspicion that there might be something there for you. And then it's not so much, just the time to take to feel like you ran the experiment. And I would gauge that, in pretty early days, you'll see success. And if the success that we talk about in the early days ended up being true, you'll get a little bit more confident, right? And then as you progress, you get a little bit more confident because the things that we talk about in the practice that are kind of might happen, supposed to happen in general, broad strokes, they keep happening, right? And then that gives you confidence and momentum. And then you're like, oh, those other things, talk to enough people, that's their, we're all unique, but we're all hugely similar, right? So, you just kind of go on the good faith of those words and on the evidence that you see as you go. If you don't see any evidence in the beginning, maybe you're not practicing right. If the experiment could be flawed, but if all those other things are not happening, then I would say it's crazy to keep doing it, right? And that is a loaded thing for me to say out of context, but I think you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about these 5 hindrances. They are charted through the meditative traditions. And usually people think about these hindrances as hindrances to meditation, hindrances to a calm, peaceful, blissful, awake, aware mind that's unified and completely present. However, yes, there are hindrances to meditation. Meditation is something that your mind does naturally. It's a natural capability that the mind has to focus and to be aware at the same time, right? Completely natural qualities that the mind has, attributes, capabilities that the mind has. But the mind also has capabilities like these 5 hindrances. And unfortunately, those habits are more well-worn than the habits that we're trying to create. So it's good to be aware of them. The brain is wired to keep us safe, not to keep us happy, right?
Yeah.
The brain is wired to keep us safe and alive and procreating and long enough to like pass on the genes, and that's about it. Brain's actually, you know, it can do amazing things, and I don't want to knock it because I love my brain and your brains, but it's a pretty rudimentary tool that we have in this way. So we'll talk about it. So the first, so all of these hindrances have been essential to our evolution and biology, and that's why we have them. But they get triggered, these tendencies, they kind of run amok, right? They've been necessary for us when we were evolving, but now they've kind of run amok. Let me get more specific, and I think that it'll start to make sense what I'm saying. So the first hindrance is called worldly desire, basically desire, right? Desire for pleasure and avoidance of pain, right? You have a desire for things that are pleasant. You have a desire to feel famous or significant or needed, respected, esteemed, all those things. Of course you do. You have a desire to have praise, right? And not have anybody shame you or embarrass you or feel isolated, right? From an evolutionary standpoint, of course, we're going to go to things that are pleasant, like food, like sex, like group and community. All of those things helped keep our ancestors alive in a unit and safe, really, right? Now, look at us now. We're in a world where we have, I think all of us in this room have no shortage of food, right? And yet our biology says eat, like that sugar, right? But we don't, we're not, wandering in the woods, hunting berries and saying, oh, I should eat more berries. We have, vast supermarkets at our fingertips. You can kind of see how the urge is positive and why it's there. But if you kind of keep feeding all of those urges as if you were still kind of wandering in the woods with your tribe, the circumstance doesn't reflect the way that the biology is wired. So you have desire, which is also it's kind of tricky because desire is actually a negative mental state. You don't think of it that way because we're so addicted to our desires because it feels good to desire things in a way. Why? Because it gives you energy. You're focused. Your attention's very focused, right? You're already imagining how pleasant something would be, but it's a negative mental state because you're saying whatever is here isn't enough. I don't want this, right? Tricky, a little tricky. Not all, you can have a desire for peace and, you can have more elevated desires, but the impulse in the moment to have it be like, I want something that's not here, and that very animal wanting divorces you from what is happening right now. So that's something to be mindful of. All of your mind wandering, you'll get to know your desires very well by seeing what kind of distractions your mind offers up. The antidote to that is to understand that you'll just kind of see the pain that having incessant desires causes and what it makes you miss out on. And then once you meditate a little bit more, you'll have a kind of contentment that allows you to say, oh, that desire is there. I know where it's coming from. I know my mind's trying to keep me healthy, happy, and whole, but really I don't need that right now because I'm focusing on this other thing, okay? And when the bliss from meditation comes, this like physiological, mental state and physical state of contentment and happiness and joy arise, it's really the best antidote because you don't need anything from the outside. Like nothing from the outside can compare, right? So I talked about it being a hedonic practice. That's kind of part of why. Also, we talked about, so we had desire, then we have aversion. Hi. No worries. Tell us your name though, because we all know.
Sarah.
Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Welcome. Awesome. Oh, great. Welcome. Aversion. Aversion's obvious, a little bit more obviously a negative mental state. Aversion's pushing away. Like whatever is happening, I don't want it. Not good enough. It hurts. It's annoying. Whatever it is, it's a feeling of like pushing away. And in meditation, aversion comes up in forms like boredom or impatience or I want to move, whatever else, right? Aversion. You can obviously see where this is helpful biologically, right? Like that pain, push it away. I burn my hand on a stove. I don't, it's that impulse to get away and run away from pain. Super helpful, right? At a very gross level, not very helpful in dealing with nuanced, sophisticated relationships and wild lives, right? Because you have the pain of the event and you're like, okay, I can do that. But if you're resisting all the way, you're able to add in pain of the mental, emotional resistance to whatever is happening, right? Does everybody know or does anyone want to tell the story if they know of it? And if not, I will. That was a really weird way to introduce a story or invite you guys to talk. Of that the Buddha told about getting struck with 2 arrows. Okay, I will. Oh, yeah. You want to tell us, Becky?
Yeah. I don't remember being 2 arrows though.
So
1 arrow and he wants to investigate.
There's the one that I know. Maybe. How about I tell, and then you tell me if it's the one that you were thinking of, and then maybe there's more than. I'm sure there's more than 1 arrow story. Yeah.
I vaguely maybe know something.
Yeah.
Isn't it like 1 arrow is the pain of the actual experience, and then the other arrow is like the pain that you bring to it?
Yeah.
Like how you think about it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you could say that a lot more confidently. And no, absolutely. I'm
totally not sure, but I remember something.
That's it. No, that's totally it, right? So our experience, like pain is inevitable. It's a part of life. It's a part of having a body. It's a part of being born. It's a part of living and dying. So it is. Emotional pain, even. But our response to that pain is like the second arrow that we inflict on ourselves through resisting that, right? So if something nasty happens to us, or sad, or scary, or whatever else, physical or otherwise, there's a pain, an unpleasantness associated with that experience. It's unpleasant relative to being a human or a being. It's just unpleasant, right? There's pain. But the resistance that we bring to that pain exponentially increases the experience of suffering, right? There's a handy little equation, so excuse me if you know it already, but it's pain times resistance equals suffering. So if pain is inevitable, if we bring like 2 units of resistance, that pain doubles in our experience of suffering, right?
So you're saying that the resistance not being willing to accept the phenomenal experience of the pain, or the perception of the pain, or what?
Just if it arises and you say no, just in a really basic way. It like the life will arise and cause pain. Right? You can step on a thorn. Let's just say that you step on a thorn. There's pain, right? Ow. Now you can say, I stepped on a thorn, and blow it out and just be like, oh, it hurts, right? And then you take it out. Or you can be like, pain, stepped on a thorn, darn it. Like you still take the thorn out, but one has much greater, like more exacerbated experience of pain. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more space in just being calm about it. And I think part of it is to really allow yourself to feel the pain. Don't resist it. And that's different from dramatizing it.
Yeah.
Then you can release yourself from it. I would think a little more easily if you allow yourself to experience it through, and then calmly remove the thorn.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at it.
Right. We talked about knowing better and then having the skills, right?
Can you tell me
Yeah.
you feel it's appropriate to talk about? I heard secondhand that Master Chuadasa, he has one or more health issues.
Yes.
One's pretty major.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you're able to share with us, if you think it's appropriate, how he deals with that, because it sounds like
Yeah.
it's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah. So he has had Lyme disease, cancer, and his cancer's in remission, and his Lyme disease also went away. But he still has to do a lot of things with his body, just to keep it going and okay. And he's definitely been on the verge of death. Really in intense, crazy things happening several times, and it's really fascinating to be around he and his wife during those times. But he is very kind of matter of fact about it. He wants to live because he feels like he's got a lot to offer and he loves life. But at the same time, he's definitely accepting of whatever pain is arising. And it's just, it's amazing. It's amazing. I've taken him to go get all kinds of treatments done, or watch him change the IVs or do all kinds of painful things. And he's just very, matter of fact about it, but he still thinks positively. And he still is like, nope, I'm going to live, or he still will think about all of the positive potential in his situation or focus on positive things that are happening while he's going through that. It is kind of an interesting thing, and we'll talk about this, but when pain arises, we can ignore it, not push it away, but we can choose to focus our attention on something that is happening that is pleasant, right? If there's nothing we can do about the pain, right? Of course, we're going to pull the thorn out or treat ourselves or take care of our bodies, but if we've done everything that we can, and that's kind of a slippery slope too, because have I done everything that I can? Could I keep doing more? Yeah, let's say you've done everything that you can. Then the job is to say, okay, I've done everything that I can. What else can I focus on that is positive that's happening? Because there's always going to be something else that is going well or that feels good. Or maybe less bad. I'm going to keep going, and we're going to talk about pain in meditation and how to deal with pain in meditation when we talk about stage 1, because that comes up, don't you know? So we've talked about these ways that we're wired. Desire. Of course, we want things that feed our body and help us procreate and help keep our clans and our people together. But if we let them rule us, we're being ruled by our very kind of ancient brains and biology, as opposed to using our conscious awareness and our intentions to function more collaboratively or through other means. There's other ways of getting what we need than allowing our worldly desires to rule us. Aversion is that pushing away. And really that's like what the Buddha, that's like what people talk about as suffering, right? I want this, I don't want that. Really basic. If we're completely content, right, we can go through the world just like our everyday lives and not want to get or push or take or manipulate from every circumstance, right? We can still have dreams and hopes and aspirations, but the way that we go through each moment is completely free, right? Completely open. Laziness, right? Or actually, like the old school traditional term is it laziness and lethargy? So this is you're like Eve. Why would laziness ever be good? Why? Like, why would laziness be a thing that would be helpful? Well, it prevents you from investing and wasting time and energy in activities that don't prove very beneficial, right? You could be spending your time sleeping, maybe, in certain circumstances that might be better, huh?
It's good to rest, right?
It's totally good to rest. Yes, gotta take care.
Hibernation during winters.
Yeah, that. Laziness is also the mother of invention, if anybody didn't know, right? Necessity, laziness. You're like, well, I could climb up that tree and then hack off that honey, whatever, I could do all these things. Or I could man, what if I took a stick and I did that, right? You have laziness as the mother of invention. Seriously, right? And then I'm gonna have all this energy to do other things. It's like build wheels and stuff, right? Whatever I do with my cave lady time. So that's laziness. So it comes from a good place, wiring wise. Just like all of these things, they come from a good place, right? In meditation, you'll experience laziness as procrastination, right? I don't know if this is going to yield the results that it really is. So maybe I should be doing something else with my time, right? The counter to that is to understand and reinforce the experiment, all of the motivation that you have, the data that you have that say that, hey, maybe I'm suspicious that this might work, right? Kind of start getting yourself going in that direction. Let's see. And the more you sustain your attention, you get in the flow, the more energy you get from meditation, just the more it positively reinforces and you're on more of an upward spiral. Anxiety due to worry and remorse. The future's uncertain. And so a lot of people just carry around a decent amount of anxiety with them, right? Did I lock the door? Oh, did I do this? Did I do that? You can see where anxiety would, of course, help protect you. Like I said, your brains are wired to keep you safe and alive, not happy. A case in point, like the chronic worrier. In tradition, they also talk about anxiety due to worry and remorse stemming from kind of behavior that you knew better than, like being impatient with someone you love, or not giving to someone who needed it, or maybe telling a white lie that you're worried about someone finding out about, or whatever else. You could even you could be in a whole relationship that you shouldn't be in. It's like a whole big lie to yourself and to this other person. Like all these things of not having your life right can cause agitation and worry, right? So a complement to this whole practice, and part of the big context that I didn't mention the first day, is that meditation is designed to sit within a larger practice around like ethics and practicing to be the kind of person that you want to be. So that kind of positive emotional work in your thoughts and your speech and in your behavior. So that imagine you woke up and that you're like, oh, thank God my body works. I can get out of bed. Like, this is amazing. The sun is shining, or the clouds are out. They're so amazing. They're so artistic in their coloring. Awesome. And you're nice to every person that you meet, and you help as much as you can, and you really did your best that day to be a force of positivity in the world. And then you go to bed, and then you wake up the next day and you sit to meditate. Like, how are you going to feel versus if you were focused on yourself and you were having your normal negativity bias brain, right? So a lot of agitation or anxiety due to worry and remorse can be alleviated through focusing on how you behave in the world in a positive way and how you can be a positive force without, you can do really little things, and that can make a big difference. Then we have doubt. And doubt, we talked about, it's like a perverse faith in failure, right? You have some people that have faith in great things are going to happen to me, right? Are they? I don't know. Maybe not. Doubt, and that's kind of, we generally all live in a state of doubt. Most people I know live in a state of doubt. I don't know. And they believe, that was kind of perverse, maybe they don't believe here, but they believe here, and their skill set is negative because they're feeling and believing emotionally in their heart that bad things are going to happen, or they're not going to be good enough, or it's not going to work out, or my dreams, that's not for me to dream that big, right? And so doubt is really insidious. In meditation, it comes across as just being is this teacher, is this going to be right? Is this method going to be right? Maybe I'm not wired, maybe maybe I've got some issues in my head. Everybody else seems to be really cool and collected and organized. I think I just might be the freak outlier that this isn't going to work for. You can think of all sorts of things. But the antidote is to understand our negativity bias, which you can through observing, and just say, oh, wow, that's really pervasive and kind of silly and ridiculous, and also not true. It's not true, right? there's a whole spectrum, and we just continually habituate ourselves to looking at the negative because we're wired to deal with anything that might hurt us, right? We're in a pretty safe environment and safe world. You know, there's absolutely no reason not to skew what we're paying attention and feeding into the more positive, right? Into neutral and positive, right? We'll still take care of anything nasty that comes up, right? Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
About, like the spectrum of pain and pleasure, and
yeah.
maybe in a weird self-revealing kind of way. Like, how does masochism fit into like when you feel something like you get struck by the pain arrow, right? And you convert pain to pleasure, potentially in an unhealthy way, but it's like, especially with physical pain, for example, that's how some people might deal with physical pain, is kind of that like, thank you, let me have another. Like, where does that sit in that?
Oh boy.
Loaded. Sorry.
Well, loaded, but I can make it more universal. I think we can make it more universal, actually, because we all can find certainty in our unhealthy rituals, right? There's a certain kind of certainty and kind of feeling of control in that, in an odd way, right? So we can all seek out. We all have the same needs, right? And we can look to empowering, neutral, or not so empowering ways of dealing with them. But the interesting part of your question is more like, something horrible happens and then I love it, right? But if you're craving more of that as opposed to having it be a handy trick for you.
I mean it more as like a handy trick, like a conversion of what's painful to pleasure to cope with it.
I don't see it. I mean, this is like a larger conversation, for sure. No, there's no physiological damage. I would say, and like, test for yourselves. It is an interesting way of saying that is a sensation. Is it pleasant? Like seeing if you can switch a label for it. It's fascinating because physiologically we have the same response to fear or anxiety, like being nervous and being excited. If I'm like a little afraid of like giving a speech, I'm gonna sweat, I'm gonna have clammy hands, I'm gonna have a racing heart. I could be really terrified.
That's a good example. Like,
or
a version of what I'm thinking is like, you're afraid of heights, so you purposely go jump out of a plane.
Yeah. Well, you definitely feel alive in that sense. Yeah. I would have to think about this more and offer a more thoughtful thing. But let's talk about it at next class. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's fair enough, but many times any type of addiction is based on the fact that you need a very intense emotion to cover another emotion that you don't want to feel. So masochism kind of feeds into that kind of behavior, which is the opposite than having mindfulness. When you have an emotion which you don't like, you're gonna feel it because it's there. So you don't go to another thing which is very high to cover this one. And then since very high emotions, they are, physiologically you get addicted to that. So I think that might be, it's a way of running away from another thing.
Great. What he said. Yeah, that's great. Exactly. And when we're focusing on the positive, whatever's positive in our field of consciousness, just when we're doing it, it's not like that doesn't exist over there, right? That's the kind of subtle repression and aversion. It's like, oh, that's the whole experience. Okay, well, my attention is going to go somewhere. Where's it going to go? Cool. So we've been talking for a long time. I wanted to sit. It's almost 8:30. I have all of these things I didn't get to. Let me wrap this up, and then I even brought you guys like, I was gonna have the games of like note cards and like crayons and like I'm gonna send you guys my notes so you have them. Would that be helpful? I don't like giving them because I feel like people totally tune out when they have notes. I was gonna make you write. Best laid plans. You guys know it's a little sexist in its construction, but I have like man plans, God laughs. Yeah. Okay. So the whole point of all of saying, okay, let's just like wrap this part up and then we'll take a break and then we'll do a quick sit and then we'll be done. So suppression or kind of self-flagellation do not work with training or repressing these instincts, right? These hindrances are like boons to our biology, are there, they're in our wiring, they're in our DNA, they have served, right? So whenever a distraction comes up or an impulse of like, I don't wanna, or wouldn't it be better if I was running outside or doing something, whatever, right? We need to honor where those are coming from, right? They're not bad, they're just misplaced, right? They're just like, thank you, I understand why you are trying to get me to think about whatever else, but it's really not necessary right now. So then we have this like mantra for any distractions that are arising. Let it come, let it be, let it go, right? You're welcome. There you are. Goodbye. Pretty simple, right? So, you know, I think a lot of people, when they start to meditate, they're like, that's not helpful. That's bad. Why am I lazy? Get out of bed. What are you doing? Why haven't you meditated? Like all of this stuff. And they bring so much negativity to the practice. The right attitude is not the right attitude, right? It's like willful, strong, which is a little bit very like ego, so like I can do this, right? And like this is like I'm gonna make this happen. And what did I say in the beginning? Meditation's a hedonic. It's pleasant, like you know, you will use those impulses to help you meditate and sit more, right? But you don't want those impulses to use you. Okay, so that's just all to say that we need to work with like empathy with our being and our bodies and our minds, and that we'll do that as we start to play with stage 1 and stage 2 practice. Yes, it's once useful but now outdated programming. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So why don't you take a stretch break or a bathroom break, and then we'll come back and do a sit.
I'm gonna stop the broadcast now. Or do you want to just let it run through?
If you stop, you have to reset up the whole thing down under a different name and everything.
Yeah, so it's better just
okay,
It's
so
okay
just
to
leave
leave
it.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay,
It's okay.
great.
We had this point. There's a tipping point where it could get to what he was describing. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Potentially.
I'm glad.
Because there's an interesting. Sure to see. Right.
And that's good.
Yeah.
But the other thing.
There's a part of it that's like,
It's one thing to reframe it to get through it, another thing to that's a lot more.
But you see the ability.
I'm trying to get it.
Transferable to all the other.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
So one thing that came to mind was, for me specifically, for example, there's a lot of things, I don't know how to place it. You know how like we've talked about sitting and being afraid of the things that come up and so avoiding, basically.
Yes.
For me, not only in meditation, but just in day-to-day, I don't, like the fears, unless they're gross, like, oh, I don't want to sit and I don't want to like present in front of people. I don't want to, like, unless they're really big fears or whatever, I don't really know what's guiding me, like the things that my subconscious or whatever it is pushing away. It's a lot of avoiding certain things or going on certain paths and switching to this path now because of wiring that I'm not aware of. Subtle stuff that I don't, realize. It's not like, oh, I'm actually scared of this or I actually want this. Well, the wanting might be a little more obvious. But I guess what's the question? The question is how to be more, maybe either how to be more sensitive with that or
Perceptive?
Yeah, perceptive to that, yeah.
Hidden motivations, perhaps, or hidden.
Yeah. That I'm just not, just not being aware of.
You'll start to see that the more, and we haven't talked, I barely know you, so I don't know a lot about your practice, but the more anyone sits, and you get to a place where your mind isn't, your attention's pretty stable, you have pretty powerful mindfulness. You'll really quickly start to see, number one, like in the beginning, you'll start to see what your tendencies are, kind of what your flavors of distractions are, and that'll give you clues. You'll also, when your attention's stable, you also start to see the subtle impulses of kind of what it'll be very subtle. It should be almost physiological of what you're attracted to. Your deeper dreams and desires will come out in creative ways as distractions. You also have like purifications or emotions that come up that are really intense. You might not know what they're about all the time, so that won't be there, but you'll definitely develop a skill for smelling the very subtle variants of desire or aversion, and in a really quiet space, and they are so there, and if you don't think they're there, the light's not on bright enough. They're there for everybody. So I would say that with that kind of skill there, you'll start to feel and trust what is going on in a grosser, in the grosser by being more like the world is a lot bigger, more vibrant, and you'll start to sense that.
Because you find yourself getting frustrated more and less patience.
Yeah, and yeah, you'll see your patterns, and so you'll also see like, why am I having this response? What kind of significance or like story structure am I putting on top of this situation? Things will just start to become more.
Meaning in the terms of the second arrow.
Yeah, like, we all, when things arise in peripheral awareness, they arise with a meaning already bound to them that our subconscious assigns, and like that story will be present for that. The more we meditate, those mental processes that bind moments with meaning slow down and don't function on purpose because we've trained them not to, and then we'll have more of a kind of raw experience. So then you'll start to see the stories that your mind places on top of those experiences more definition, because they won't arise with them. It'll be something that slowly happens after, because your perception speeds up and your mental processes slow down at the same time. It's kind of like, you kind of get to see it a little bit more.
You see it happen, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. How are we doing? Still have a few folks. I'm gonna say these, oh man, who here can stay a little later? Be honest, like if you, okay, who here wants to stay a little later? Close your eyes and raise your hand. Ladies. Ish. I will tell you when it's 8:30, I'm gonna go 10 minutes over, okay? And if you wanna leave at 8:30, you please just totally. You'll probably have a response that's like, you'll see one of the worldly desires pop up. Like, oh, what do they think about? Who cares? Not relevant. Take 3 and pass it around. Yeah. Try to keep the same color probably in my experiment. If you have a writing utensil, you don't need a marker, but if you really want a marker, you can take a marker. There are pens. Give it into. If you need, only if you need one. Yeah. If you don't need one, don't take one. And then there's also this box of pens. And if you need more of these thingies, I will. So as I was riding the train home, actually like started last week, I was like devising how great it would be if like I gave you guys like note cards, because in the beginning there's so many there's so many really helpful instructions, but it can start to sound like alphabet soup and like gobbledygook, and you're like, wait, what do I do now? And there are these 5 things for this and 3 things for that, and then all of a sudden you're like, why is this so confusing? I thought I was supposed to be like simplifying and like being with myself.
3.
Yeah, 3. There's more if you need. So I just want you to write these things down, and then we're gonna sit. I'm not gonna explain them. Okay, you're just gonna write them down. If you need a writing utensil,
Yeah.
yes. Where's the thing of it? Okay.
Yeah, some of my.
If you okay. Anybody need any other cards? There's more. Thank you. Any other?
Just right here on the floor.
Yeah.
Any other markers? There's a really nice blue here. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, thanks, Alejandra. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay, on the first, don't write this down, or you can, but like I wasn't in my vision, but whatever, it doesn't matter. That obviously didn't happen since it's like 5 minutes class. But how do you establish a practice if you have all this like crap in your way and it's hard and everything's crazy? How do you establish a practice? I'm going to give you 6 categories of things for you to think about. You can write this down if you feel like I need help establishing a practice and I want to make sure that I do it. So you could write that down on your note card if you like. And number 1, you need to love it. Like you're only going to do something that you love. Whether you love yourself, whether you love your kids, whether you love life, whether you love the journey, whatever it is that you love, it's like connecting to your motivation. You need to reinforce, like you would a relationship, like any relation. If you've been in a long-term relationship, like you got to go tend to it. You got to like remember why. You have to see the positive in. You got to go to it, right? So to turn to your practice. Yeah. Nice.
Thank you.
Gray. Okay. You have to love it. Right? And if you don't love it yet, or you don't know what it is, you have to love the reason that you're coming to it, or the reason that you're curious, or what it might be. Number 2, you have to make it a habit. So you have to find the same time and place. Same time and place. You have to design that like you would like you're an engineer, right? When, where, how, why. If you're doing it at home, awesome, because the sounds, we'll learn to deal with the sounds. There's also churches. Churches are always open. No one is in them. You can go and have a seat. If you have an allergic reaction to churches, it's interesting, and you can study that as well. You can come to places like this. They have 8 a.m. meditations every day.
1:30 p.m. meditations.
1:30 p.m. lunchtime meditations. There are places all over. I can help you with that. But to find the same time and same place, make it Pavlovian. Do it every day.
Earplugs.
Earplugs. If it's intense, earplugs can help. I have done that actually. Earplugs. Make it beautiful. Number 3, like to create your haven, make your space nice that you want to be there. I told you, hedonic. You're just going to set yourself up to make it something nice that you like. You can make it beautiful. You can build yourself a little refuge. To take care of your body, so make sure you're getting enough exercise, sleep, and food. If I don't exercise, there is no, like, I'm an animal, complete and total animal. If I'm not exercising, there's so much more that I have to work through in between and with to get to a normal state. So, take care of your body, get enough sleep, go to bed early. All of that, making it a habit, taking care of the body, takes planning. So make sure you're calendaring, you're planning ahead, you're thinking about, oh, but I want to do this thing so much that I'm going to go home a little bit earlier, not have a 2nd or 3rd glass of wine or whatever your limit is or whatever. And I'm going to go to bed so I can wake up early and do this thing I'm really excited about. You only do it if you're excited and if you want to. Have you ever noticed that? You don't do anything you don't really want to do. Really, really, really don't want to do. Most of us don't. Having the right attitude, playful, curious, engaged, diligent, right? The attitude is perfect. And the attitude is the attitude not just to sitting, but to the whole practice and like designing of it. And 6 is to stay inspired, tending to the relationship again, like reading books that are inspiring, taking classes, having friends that are into similar things to compare notes. All of those things are so important to establishing a practice. They'll be your antidotes and your fire against, or not against, but when something comes up like impatience, like these other things, you'll have a resource to go to. We can talk about that. Okay, so now you're going to write down the 5 this is separate. So establishing a practice you'll be doing for, as long as it takes to have a regular daily practice. This is all about what am I going to do when I start sitting down? Okay, so this is why I wanted note cards, so you could have them like under your cushion or something, and like, what was it? Okay, so there's going to be three sets of, there's going to be like kind of three lists that go in order. Okay, and you can choose how you want to write it on your card, but the first is your 5-step meditation prep, or your 6-point prep in the book, but I condensed one of them because I thought they were too similar. I just think it's less is better for this kind of stuff. So this is like what you're doing when you sit down and you're starting to meditate. What is your preparation? Then you have a transition from the preparation into your meditation. And then there's actual training, right? Which is like cross training. It's like running your tires or like doing your push-ups or whatever you're doing in your training part for stage 1 and stage 2. Or your training is actually anything. It's the whatever meditation. You could do a loving kindness meditation. That would be your training, whatever it is, and your closing. So the 5-step prep. Number 1, remember why. You're gonna fire up your motivation. So you sit down, 7 in the morning, you had your coffee or whatever, your tea, you're sitting down, okay, what do I do now? Step 1, remember why you're doing it. Okay, good. Step 2, you're gonna set the game. That means that you're setting reasonable goals. Like you understand what you're doing. You kind of review. I'm going to try to celebrate whenever I wake up from mind wandering, and I'm going to intend to stay at the tip of the nose. That's the game I'm playing. That's what I'm signing up for. You're going to just kind of feel that goal, that end state in your body. Like if you're playing basketball and you're just like, that perfect, I just know how it feels. Okay, that's what I'm doing. That's the point of this meditation today. So you're going to set the game, right? Then you're going to remind yourself, number 3, that anything can happen. And that's a good thing. Anything can happen. You do not know what is going to happen. That means beware of expectations. That means everything's possible. So yes, I just decided what kind of game I was playing based on what I'm working with, but that doesn't mean that I can't be surprised and I might need to toggle based on what's arising. So that's like anything can happen, anything is possible, hold it all loosely, right? I'm not going to get so focused here that I'm missing all of these other things that are going on. I write this for myself. Number 4, like be a badass or be an adult or be a ninja, but really in the book it's like commit to diligence and ignoring potential distractions. It's like, I know my mental state. I know that I'm a little anxious right now. So, okay, I know that I'm a little anxious. Anxiety might arise and make me feel like I need to get up and do something else. I'm going to be a badass. I'm going to be an adult. I'm going to hold space for that anxious part of me. And I can be anxious. It's okay. I'm going to rock through it. I'm going to be really diligent. I'm going to stay. Okay. So that's committing to diligence and doing the practice, and committing to ignoring. Ignoring is kind of a negative word for us. Committing to kind of just let it come, let it be, let it go. Committing to like resting or sitting with whatever comes up. And you might know what is going to come up based on your mental state. And then 5, you're going to get comfortable. You're going to adjust your posture. Make sure that there's nothing that's going to hurt you physiologically. And you feel nice and comfy. So 1 was remember why, or like firing up your motivation. 2 was about setting the game, setting a strong intention for what you're trying to do, a goal, so to speak, kind of like what the bullseye is. 3 is to remember that anything can happen, to be aware of expectations, to have a good attitude. 4 is all about committing to diligence, like I'm going to do this practice. Things might come up, but I'm not going to, if I catch it, I'm not going to let my attention go there. Like I'm deciding, no, this is how I'm going to be and what I'm going to do. And all of your subminds, your subconscious is listening to this. So the more emotive you can make it, the more energized you can make it, the steeper it'll seep, right? And that will start to slowly kind of shift the programming. And then to get comfortable. Okay, your transition, this is kind of like 6. But now you're going to that's your prep. And you can go through that in like a minute, right? I like to do it if I'm starting. If it's early days, I like to do it with my eyes open so I don't go off into la land and like think about this for 30 minutes and then don't really do my training, right? So it's kind of nice to do with your eyes open and kind of sit there and kind of go sequentially. Transition, you're going to focus on the present. So you're going to let attention move throughout the present moment, whatever is arising through your 5 senses or in your mind.
Sorry, focus on present, you said?
The present.
Okay.
Your present, which is going to be your 5 senses.
Okay.
Your mental sense. Then you're going to focus on the sounds that are arising. So if that jackhammer is out there, great. You know, you get to explore how attention and awareness move through sounds. When resistance comes up or clinging comes up, oh, that dove is so beautiful. I hope it doesn't stop. Oh, you know, you get this like pull, push. You feel the really basic primal impulses in that. And then you go from sounds to body, feeling physical sensations, bodily sensations related to, you can start in your body, but then you can go to breath. You feel your belly, move up through your belly from your sit bones up to the tip of the nose. So 9 on my list, whatever is next, is breath sensations at the nose, balancing attention and awareness. It's your home base. It's where you're starting.
Can you say that again?
Breath sensations at the nose, comma, balancing attention and awareness. You're there, you're locked, you're at home base. Got it. Attention, awareness, they're balanced, right? This is where I want to be. And for most of your training, that's like you're placing yourself at the bullseye for a moment and feeling the bullseye. Like, this is it. And you can do that for like a moment. You can totally do that and be like, ta-da! And then 10 is to enjoy. You're going to enjoy through peripheral awareness anything that's pleasant about this experience. I'm sitting, I did it. I woke up. My face feels good. The sensations at the nose feel good. Whatever is pleasant, whatever is nice. Notice it, let it be in relief, because that will convince all these other wild parts of your mind that this is worth doing, that it's a positive thing. And then you'll count to 10. Even if you're stage 10 shamatha consistent practitioner, it's nice to count to 10. Maybe not, maybe if you're a shamatha. If you're 9 or you're 8, it's still nice to start your sit with a transition and counting to 10. There's just something, I don't know, it's just something really great about it. And it only takes a little bit of time. Count to 10, just watch your breath, watch a 10 count. So that's transition from the present, anything goes, to the sounds, to physical sensations related to breath, to the tip of the nose, balancing attention and awareness and enjoying everything, and then count to 10. And then for your training, that's a separate kind of thing, right? So I said prep, transition, training. For stage 1, your training are games to engage attention or prevent mind wandering. If you go and you just sit and you like focus on the sensations at the tip of the nose, it's going to be too easy. You're going to get bored, right? And then you're going to like think about something else, okay? You don't want it to be too easy, so you create games to keep yourself engaged, right? First game, just write this down, close following or following. It's when you're noticing every little detail and every little micro shift, like to the nth degree. And is there really a pause in the sensation data at the end of the exhale and beginning of the inhale? And where is there pressure, temperature differences? Super close following. Then you have zooming in and zooming out. That's another activity or game you can play. That's kind of obvious what that is. You can alternate nostrils. A third game you can play. Just here, here, moving around the arch of the nostrils, alternating nostrils. And then you can probably think up a lot of other ones that are nice. That's just to get you started. And then after the games, you have celebrate the aha. When you wake up from mind wandering, you're going to celebrate the miracle that your mind has decided that this is worthwhile, and it's a new thing that your mind's doing, and to appreciate the balance of attention and awareness when you bring it back. All right, so you'll do your training, and then when the timer dings, you're going to, if you're like wondering when the timer dings, it's really nice to close in like the positive, like, if you're like playing basketball, you're like you're like goofing around, like you don't like leave the court unless you like you gotta just leave on a high note, right? So no matter what was going on, right, you bring yourself back. This is wonderful. Thank you so much, you wild little monkey mind, for working with me. This was awesome. I got to learn so much about you. Attention, awareness, thank you. Scene. You do your mic drop and then you leave. But you don't leave, you leave on a high note and you leave with a thank you. Okay. All right. So that's for you guys. I'm going to share my my notes with you, and let's do the quickest sit. So you're just going to, we'll start with the transition, so we're not going to do the prep. So come into the present moment. Just notice where your attention spontaneously moves. And then explore just the sounds that you hear. Stay still and then come into the body. So now your sounds are part of your peripheral awareness and your attention is exploring the sensations in the body. And to go to the belly. So your attention is exploring the sensations at the belly. You're aware of everything else in the body, the sounds in the room, the space in the room. And then move slowly through the abdomen to the diaphragm, the lungs, collarbones, through the throat, to the tip of the nose. Feel around there for a moment. And see if you can find a balance of attention at the tip of the nose, exploring all those details, and awareness of your body, the sounds in the room, the space of the room. Maybe even the state of your mind. The entire rest of your experience that is not the sensations at the tip of the nose. And then I'd like you to keep your attention tethered to the tip of the nose. You're noticing these subtle shifts in pressure and temperature. But I want you to be aware of anything pleasant that's a part of your experience. It could be physical, emotional, mental, anything. Anything nice. And for 1 minute, you're going to engage in some sort of activity to prevent mind wandering by just really engaging. You can choose whatever that is. And if your mind wanders, you catch it. Just be really excited. That's the practice at this stage. Just celebrating and coming back to home base at the tip of the nose. Okay, you're going to bring yourself back to the tip of the nose if you aren't there. Balance, attention, and awareness. See if you can let go of any grasping desire. Let go of any aversion, pushing away. Just be completely content. Just practice being completely content and appreciative and excited about whatever is arising. Okay, and then thank yourself for practicing. And when you're ready, you can deepen your breath and open your eyes. Okay. Thank you all so much. And I really appreciate your coming and sitting. I'll share class notes. I'm sorry that we're late. Next time I will be more mindful of that. I'll have some more tools I'll adjust. Thank you.
Make the class longer, maybe?
Huh?
To make the class longer.
Oh, haha. It'll all get out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you guys want to set up meditation interviews, you just send me an email and we can meet before class or after class. We can talk about what you're doing. It doesn't need to be a big deal. Everybody's like, oh, I'll wait till I have more. I don't know. You know, it's not a big deal. Interview maybe is a loaded word in our culture. It just is like we can have a talk one-on-one about it, about what you're doing. This is what's coming up. This is what I'm really focused on. This is how I'm responding to this thing that's arising. Do you have any other ideas? Yeah, I do. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? I'm plateaued. I'm stuck. Whatever. Like, it's very healthy and cool to be able to get one-on-one. And in so many cases, people aren't advancing when they should, or they're advancing when they shouldn't, or they're trying. You know, there's so many different ways that we get kind of stuck as we're going, and it's just really helpful to be able to talk that out with somebody. So please don't be shy about that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.